Cast your mind back, just for a moment, to the day's headlines. Think about the conversations you've overheard, the debates raging across every social platform, the personal thoughts that might have nudged at the back of your mind as you scrolled through your phone or simply looked out the window. Does it often feel like we're living through an era of profound, almost dizzying disconnect? A time when the very fabric of society seems to be fraying at the edges, pulled apart by unseen forces, leaving us collectively gasping for a breath of clarity. We live in an age of abundant information, yet also one of overwhelming confusion. The relentless churn of crises fills our screens, political polarization reaching fever pitch where common ground seems like a distant memory, economic anxieties casting long shadows over everyday lives, making the future feel precarious for many, a pervasive sense of collective disorientation in the face of rapid technological change, where yesterday's innovation is today's old news and tomorrow's disruption is already upon us. Our digital feeds are a constant, self-perpetuating torrent of outrage and division, each clickbait headline amplifying existing anxieties, pitting us against one another, creating echo chambers where genuine understanding feels not just difficult, but actively discouraged. There's a palpable sense of unease, a gnawing suspicion that something fundamental has shifted, leaving us adrift in a vast, impersonal sea of information and conflicting narratives. We are more connected than ever, yet paradoxically, many feel more isolated, more unheard. And beyond these grand, global narratives, you might feel it personally too, mightn't you? That subtle, yet persistent, hum of dissatisfaction, a yearning for something more authentic, more meaningful, amidst the endless pursuit of fleeting pleasures and the constant pressure to project an ideal, often artificial, image to the world. Perhaps a quiet frustration with systems that feel broken, with promises unfulfilled, with a culture that sometimes seems to prioritize superficiality over depth, noise over substance, transient trends over enduring wisdom. You might find yourself asking, is this all there is? Am I truly living the life I was meant to live, or am I just reacting to the incessant demands of a world gone mad? This isn't just a modern phenomenon. It's a timeless human condition, magnified by our current circumstances. This deep, pervasive feeling, this sense of things being fundamentally askew, of a world out of joint, gives rise to a single, urgent question. It's a question whispered in the quiet hours of the night, debated passionately in university halls and coffee shops, shouted in the streets by protesters demanding change, and pondered by every thoughtful generation throughout history. But it resonates with particular intensity, with a poignant, almost desperate clarity, here in our own tumultuous 21st century. It is the question that defines our era, the unspoken query behind so much of our collective angst, the very core of our shared human experience. What is wrong with the world? Take a moment. What's your immediate answer? Where do you instinctively point the finger? Is it the internet and its insidious algorithms, shaping our perceptions and dictating our attention? Is it the decline of traditional values, leading to a moral vacuum? Is it the unchecked power of global corporations or seemingly distant governments, making decisions that impact millions with little accountability? Is it climate change, posing an existential threat to our planet? Or is it something even more profound, something inherent in human nature itself, an unavoidable flaw, an original sin that surfaces no matter the era or the technological advancements? We all have our theories, our preferred scapegoats, our complex analyses of the myriad external forces conspiring against peace, progress, and personal contentment. We externalize, we theorize, we seek causes outside of ourselves. Yet, over a century ago, in a remarkably similar, if not identical, intellectual climate, a prominent London newspaper posed this very same question to some of the era's leading thinkers. They invited them, much like we invite ourselves and others today, to contribute to a weighty symposium titled "What's Wrong with the World?" The expectation, of course, was for lengthy, erudite essays dissecting societal structures, political failures, and philosophical shortcomings. And among the many verbose, intricately argued responses they received, one stood out not just for its brilliance, but for its breathtaking simplicity, its almost scandalous brevity, and its utterly profound, almost counterintuitive insight. The reply came from the mind of G.K. Chesterton, the larger-than-life journalist, philosopher, critic, and literary titan, known for his masterful use of paradox and his unwavering commitment to common sense. His response, delivered with his characteristic wit and piercing honesty, became instantly legendary. It challenged every instinct, every tendency to point fingers outward, to find fault in the grand machinery of the world. It was simply this: "Dear sirs, I am yours, G.K. Chesterton, I am." Just 2 words, an almost impudent declaration, a playful yet devastating punchline. In an age brimming with grand political manifestos, sweeping sociological critiques, and eloquent condemnations of abstract societal ills, Chesterton didn't blame the economic system, or the political parties, or the scientific advancements, or even the vague notion of them. He didn't even lay blame on the age itself. He blamed himself. He pointed inward. Now, at first glance, this might seem like a self-deprecating joke, a clever turn of phrase designed purely to disarm or amuse. But Chesterton was rarely just clever. He was almost always profoundly wise, and often at his most profound when he seemed most playful. And this seemingly simple, almost flippant, answer carries within it the weight of an entire philosophy, a radical reorientation of how we approach our most pressing problems, personal and global. It's a declaration that implicitly suggests the remedy might not lie in changing the world around us, but in changing our perspective, our choices, our very being within it. It is a profound and challenging answer, isn't it? One that immediately forces us to pause, to look away from the screens and the headlines and the noisy debates, and instead turn that critical, often external-facing, gaze upon ourselves. What does Chesterton's declaration, "I am," truly signify? Is it merely an admission of personal guilt, a call for individual responsibility above all else? Or is it something far deeper, a key to unlocking a different way of seeing, a more effective way of engaging with the world around us, and indeed, with ourselves, that has been largely forgotten or deliberately overlooked? In this exploration, we will embark on a journey through Chesterton's seminal work, What's Wrong with the World, a book that, despite being written over 100 years ago, speaks with startling prescience and astonishing relevance to our modern condition. We will unpack the layers of meaning embedded in that legendary, one-line response, understanding its context and its explosive implications. We will discover why G.K. Chesterton dared to point the finger at himself, and why his deeply introspective, challenging vision offers not just a penetrating understanding of what's gone awry, but perhaps even a vital path forward, a compass to navigate the complexities and anxieties of our own 21st century lives. Prepare to look inward, to question your assumptions, and to reconsider the very nature of human progress and personal responsibility. Because, as Chesterton so masterfully reminds us, the answer to the world's greatest question might just lie closer than we think, not out there, but in here. Welcome, friends, to a conversation that might just be one of the most refreshing you have all year. You might be wondering why we're about to dive into a book written over a century ago, in 1910, by a rather portly, boisterous English journalist, essayist, and novelist named G.K. Chesterton. In a world saturated with the latest self-help gurus, productivity hacks, and ever-evolving news cycles, why would we dust off something so old? The answer, I promise you, is precisely because it's old, but not old in the sense of being outdated or irrelevant. Old in the sense of being foundational, timeless, and surprisingly, prophetically clear about the very confusions we wrestle with today. Let me introduce you properly to G.K. Chesterton, a man affectionately known as the Prince of Paradox. He wasn't an academic confined to an ivory tower. He was a giant of common sense and sparkling wit who possessed an uncanny ability to turn accepted notions on their head, not with esoteric philosophy, but with the disarming clarity of a child pointing out the emperor's new clothes. Chesterton had this phenomenal gift for seeing through the fashionable nonsense of his own era, the scientific materialism, the utopian progressivism, the intellectual relativism, and dissecting it with an almost surgical precision, using nothing but robust logic, everyday observation, and an irrepressible sense of humor. He challenged the unspoken assumptions that society just accepted, and in doing so, he offered an exhilarating liberation of thought. His work feels less like a lecture and more like a brilliant, jovial dinner table conversation where suddenly everything that was hazy becomes crystalline. Now I have to confess, for years I found myself adrift in a similar sea of modern confusion. Every time I tried to make sense of the news, or the endless debates online, or even just my own nagging sense that something was fundamentally amiss with the way we were all living, I'd get lost in the noise. There were so many voices, so many conflicting opinions, so many seemingly complex problems, and frankly, so little clarity. It felt like trying to navigate a dense fog with a broken compass. I'd read countless contemporary books and articles hoping for that aha moment, that one piece of insight that would connect the dots, but it rarely came. More often than not, I just ended up feeling more overwhelmed, more muddled, more certain that the world was spiraling into an incomprehensible mess. Then, almost by chance, I picked up What's Wrong with the World. I admit, the title itself sounds a bit grand, even a little pretentious, and part of me expected a dry, academic treatise or perhaps a quaint, irrelevant critique of Edwardian society. Oh, how delightfully wrong I was. From the very first few pages, it wasn't just a book I was reading, it was an experience. It was like Chesterton reached through the decades and handed me a pair of perfectly calibrated spectacles. Suddenly, the fog began to lift. The complex problems didn't seem quite so complex, because he wasn't just telling me what was wrong. He was teaching me how to think about what's wrong. He showed me how to identify the hidden premises, how to question the unquestioned, and how to find the simple, human truth beneath layers of intellectual pretense. It was a revelation. This 100-year-old book, written by a man who couldn't have conceived of smartphones or social media, spoke to my deepest anxieties and intellectual frustrations with a startling, almost magical relevance. It offered a practical, incredibly clear, and often hilarious toolkit for understanding the world, and more importantly, for understanding myself within it. It became my personal guide out of the intellectual wilderness, a steadfast companion that cut through the cacophony with common sense and genuine joy. So, here's what we're going to do together. We're not just going to review what's wrong with the world as some dusty, historical artifact. No, that would be missing the point entirely. Instead, we're going to borrow its profound wisdom, its razor-sharp wit, and its crystal-clear logic to diagnose our own world. We're going to use Chesterton's insights as a powerful lens to examine the contemporary confusions, the pervasive anxieties, and the societal challenges that feel so unique to our time, but which Chesterton, in his boundless wisdom, foresaw and dissected with astonishing accuracy. This isn't a lecture, it's a guided exploration, a conversation between us with Chesterton as our brilliant, funny, and surprisingly timely company pilot. Think of it as intellectual jiu-jitsu for the modern mind, arming ourselves with timeless principles for clarity, courage, and constructive action. Our journey through what's wrong with the world will unfold in three main parts. First, we'll dive deep into Chesterton's incisive diagnosis, his uncanny ability to pinpoint the fundamental errors and distorted philosophies of his age, many of which echo with unsettling familiarity in our own. We'll explore how his understanding of human nature and society provides a framework for understanding why things feel so off. Then, in the second part, we'll unpack his logic of common sense, how he disarms seemingly intractable problems with elegant, yet profound truths, showing us how to cut through complexity and find the heart of the matter. He offers us a mental toolkit, a way of thinking that protects against the pitfalls of fashionable errors. And finally, in our third section, we'll distill Chesterton's enduring wisdom into a practical prescription for today, moving beyond just understanding what's wrong to considering what we, as individuals and communities, can authentically do about it. This isn't about quick fixes, but about cultivating a deeper, more grounded perspective that empowers meaningful engagement with the world around us. Are you ready to discover how a truly great mind from the past can be your most reliable guide for the present? Join me as we embark on this illuminating and often hilarious journey, and let's together begin to make sense of what's wrong with our world, armed with the surprising clarity of Chesterton. Welcome to our journey through G.K. Chesterton's profound work, What's Wrong with the World? As we embark on this intellectual adventure, we begin with a foundational argument titled Chapter 1, The Man in the Mirror. This isn't just a catchy phrase, it is, in fact, the very bedrock of Chesterton's philosophy of social reform, a concept that demands an unflinching gaze inward before mending the fractured world around us. In our contemporary discourse, a powerful and pervasive tendency exists to externalize blame. When confronted with the myriad complexities, frustrations, and injustices of modern life, the temptation to point fingers outward becomes almost irresistible. It offers a convenient psychological refuge. We hear it constantly, echoing across media, social platforms, and even private conversations. It's the system that's utterly broken. We lament, the economy is inherently rigged against ordinary people. Our politicians are corrupt and self-serving, or monolithic corporations are dismantling our society and future. This impulse to attribute all societal ills to vast, abstract, and seemingly unassailable external forces provides a seductive escape hatch from uncomfortable personal introspection. It allows us to indulge in a perpetual state of lamentation about the world's condition without ever truly examining our own role, our own choices, or our own potent capacity for its genuine betterment. It becomes a comfortable, albeit ultimately debilitating, delusion that conveniently absolves us of responsibility, casting us solely as passive victims of grand circumstances utterly beyond our individual control. This mode of thinking, while prevalent, rarely leads to meaningful solutions. Chesterton, however, with his characteristic blend of astute common sense and profound insight, boldly flips this entire narrative on its head. He argues with conviction that this incessant outward gaze is unproductive, fundamentally misguided, and distracts from true change. True reform, he contends, doesn't originate with sweeping revolutions or legislative overhauls orchestrated by distant elites operating from the top down. Instead, it begins, radically and profoundly, with the individual. It begins quite simply with you. For Chesterton, the primary, essential cell of any truly healthy and flourishing society is not the bureaucratic state, nor a complex economic model, nor even a powerful political party, but rather the family. The family unit, in Chesterton's insightful and deeply traditional vision, stands as the very first and most crucial school of humanity. It is the intimate crucible where foundational virtues such as loyalty, self-sacrifice, discipline, empathy, and unconditional love are first encountered, learned, and rigorously practiced in the demanding theater of daily life. It is the fundamental workshop in which individual character is meticulously forged, where the balance between rights and responsibilities in communal living are understood as tangible, lived realities etched into the fabric of everyday interactions. When this fundamental family unit is fractured, becomes dysfunctional, or is simply neglected and undermined by societal pressures, then no amount of external tinkering with the larger societal structure, no clever policy adjustment, will ever truly heal the deeper, systemic wounds that plague the collective. A nation, after all, is not an abstract entity. It is, at its most tangible level, simply a vast collection of interconnected families. If these individual, foundational bricks are crumbling, eroding from within, then the entire edifice of society is at grave risk. This Chestertonian emphasis on the profound importance of the individual and the family, far from being an outdated Victorian notion, resonates with a powerful intensity with a yearning we observe in contemporary society, the deeply felt desire for personal responsibility and genuine authenticity. In an age saturated with self-help gurus, mindfulness apps, and a cultural emphasis on finding yourself and living your truth, Chesterton's seemingly old-fashioned message provides a robust, philosophical, and enduring framework. It suggests that true authenticity isn't merely about unbridled self-expression or pursuing personal desires. It is, more profoundly, about self-governance, taking ownership of one's character, home, and immediate sphere of influence. We, as modern individuals, crave agency, a potent sense that our actions matter, that our individual choices possess weight. Chesterton provides a clear, empowering path to finding this profound sense of agency, not in distant political battles or abstract global movements, but precisely in the intimate theater of our daily lives within our own homes. Consider this perspective through a powerful, yet elegantly simple analogy, one often attributed to those who have grasped this fundamental truth about human endeavor and societal change. You can't effectively reform the entire world from the outside in. you must first start by cleaning your own room. This isn't to say, in any way, that we should dismiss or ignore the real and significant problems posed by systemic injustices, economic inequalities, or environmental degradation. On the contrary, it is rather a powerful and deeply practical reminder that our ultimate capacity to genuinely address these larger issues is inextricably tied to our prior ability to cultivate order, responsibility, and virtue within our own personal lives and within our own homes. Before we can genuinely and credibly lead a charge against global warming, campaign against political corruption, or advocate for social equity, Chesterton subtly yet firmly prompts us to first demonstrate the discipline to manage our own affairs, to foster a healthy environment within our immediate domain. The Man in the Mirror is Chesterton's opening salvo, a potent clarion call for introspection over externalization. It challenges each of us to pause, to look honestly and unflinchingly at our own reflections, and to courageously recognize that truly transformative revolutions often begin quietly, humbly, yet powerfully, within the hearts and homes of individuals committed to building something better, more just from the ground up. This isn't an easy task. It demands honesty, effort, and continuous self-reflection. But it is, Chesterton assures us with certainty, the only truly effective and sustainable path to fostering a world worth living in, a world worthy of human dignity. As we delve further into what's wrong with the world, keep this foundational principle firmly in mind, for it underpins every subsequent argument Chesterton makes about society, culture, and the human condition. We live in an age that often equates change with progress. The very word progress conjures images of forward motion, improvement, and advancement. We're constantly told to innovate, disrupt, and move forward, seemingly at all costs. But G.K. Chesterton, in What's Wrong with the World, urges us to pause and critically examine this deep-seated modern assumption. He challenges us to ask, is all change truly progress? And if not, what then is progress? Consider our contemporary world. We see relentless technological innovation, new apps, faster computers, artificial intelligence reshaping industries. These are undeniable changes, and in many respects, they are forms of progress in efficiency, speed, or connectivity. But does a smarter phone automatically translate into a smarter, happier, or more ethically advanced human being? Does our ability to transmit information at lightning speed inherently make our societies more just or our relationships more profound? Technological advancement, while often beneficial, can be a neutral force capable of both immense good and profound harm, depending on its application and the ideals it serves. It's motion, but is it moral advancement? Is it human betterment in the truest sense? Chesterton would argue that it's merely change unless it moves us closer to a predefined, positive ideal. This distinction between mere change and true progress is critical. Progress, in Chesterton's view, implies a journey towards a fixed ideal, a known destination. You cannot make progress across a field if you don't know which direction you're heading, or even if you're aiming for a particular tree or simply wandering. Without a compass, without a map, movement is just movement, not advancement. This brings us to one of Chesterton's most insightful and widely quoted principles, often referred to as Chesterton's fence. Imagine you stumble upon a road and find a fence crossing it, seemingly without purpose. Your first impulse might be to tear it down, thinking you're clearing the way, making progress. But Chesterton warns against this instinct. He argues that you should never remove a fence until you understand why it was put there in the first place. Who built it? What problem was it solving? What purpose did it serve? This principle is profound in its application to societal institutions, traditions, and even long-held beliefs. We live in a time when there's an overwhelming urge to reform or modernize everything, often simply because it is old. We see a tradition or an institution, and because we don't immediately grasp its contemporary utility, we assume it's obsolete, a hindrance to progress. But many of these fences, be they family structures, community rituals, or even certain legal frameworks, were erected for sound, perhaps forgotten, reasons. They might be protecting something vital, preventing an unseen danger, or channeling human nature in constructive ways. To tear them down without understanding their original purpose isn't progress. It's recklessness. It's a leap in the dark, often leading to unforeseen consequences worse than the perceived problem the fence addressed. True reform, Chesterton suggests, is not about dismantling without understanding, but about understanding deeply before making any change, ensuring that any removal or alteration actually serves a greater, understood good. This leads us to a crucial and perhaps uncomfortable question for our modern society as a collective. Where are we actually trying to go? What is our fixed ideal? If we are to progress, we must know our destination. Are we aiming for maximum individual liberty at all costs, for collective equality of outcome, for spiritual fulfillment, for technological dominance? Or have we, as Chesterton feared, become so enamored with the idea of progress that we've forgotten to define its actual goal? If our only shared ideal is more progress, then we are like a ship with a powerful engine but no rudder, endlessly steaming forward without a destination, mistaking mere motion for purpose. Chesterton argues that before any meaningful reform, any genuine attempt to make the world better, we must first define the good life. What is human flourishing? What does a virtuous society look like? What constitutes genuine happiness and fulfillment? This isn't an easy question, and it's one our secular, relativist age often shies away from. We prefer to tinker with mechanisms, to adjust policies, to change structures, all without agreeing on the fundamental blueprint for humanity itself. But without a shared vision of what good actually means, our reforms are arbitrary, our changes become mere oscillations, and our perceived progress is nothing more than an illusion. Defining the good life, Chesterton insists, is the necessary first step, the fixed star by which we can finally navigate and truly begin to move forward with purpose and direction rather than simply moving. It is the compass that turns aimless wandering into true progress. Welcome back to our journey through G.K. Chesterton's profound insights in what's wrong with the world. Today we arrive at Chapter 3, a concept that might initially seem counterintuitive, yet holds immense power: the freedom of the fence. In an age obsessed with boundless options and the tearing down of all perceived restrictions, Chesterton offers a radical redefinition of freedom itself. The modern understanding often equates freedom with the absence of any limits, the ability to do absolutely anything without constraint. To be free, in this view, is to be unburdened by obligations, unconfined by choices already made, perpetually open to every single possibility. It's a vision of an endless, unmapped plain where one can wander wherever one pleases, unbound by geography or gravity. But Chesterton, with his characteristic paradox, argues that this kind of boundless freedom is not freedom at all. It's a form of slavery to indecision and anxiety-inducing void. For Chesterton, true freedom isn't the absence of all limits, but rather the ability to pursue a specific good within a defined space. It's not about being able to do anything, but about being able to do something truly meaningful and well. Consider his iconic analogy, the playground and its fence. Imagine a children's playground designed with the modern ideal of absolute freedom. No fence, no walls, just an expanse of land stretching indefinitely. What would happen? The children, far from feeling liberated, would likely cling nervously to their parents, afraid to stray too far, paralyzed by the sheer openness. They wouldn't explore the swings or slides with abandon. Their play would be tentative, cautious, limited by the fear of the unknown beyond. Now picture the playground with a sturdy, clearly defined fence. Suddenly, within those boundaries, the children are truly free. They can run, shout, climb, and tumble without a second thought. The fence, far from being a restriction, becomes the very thing that enables their freedom. It creates a safe, defined space where they can experiment, fall, get up, and flourish, knowing precisely where they are and that they are secure. The fence defines their world for play, making their play infinitely richer and more expansive than it would be in an infinite field. It isn't a barrier to play, it's a condition for it. This paradoxical principle extends far beyond the playground. Chesterton invites us to apply it to the most fundamental commitments of our lives. Take marriage, for instance. To the modern mind, the vows of marriage might seem like a profound limitation, a closing off of options, a restriction of personal liberty, especially in a culture that often celebrates non-committal relationships and individual autonomy above all else. But Chesterton would argue the opposite. The commitment, the fence of marriage, liberates us to truly love, to build a life, a family, a shared future with another person. Without that defined boundary, without the mutual promise, the relationship remains tentative, conditional, unable to grow deep roots. The endless possibility of other partners, of an escape route, would subtly undermine the very depth and joy of the union. The fence of commitment, in fact, allows the garden of love to truly flourish. The same applies to a vocation, a career, or even a creative project. Imagine a writer who vows to write any kind of story, or a painter who commits to any kind of art. The very breadth of their freedom might leave them directionless, unable to truly master a craft or express a unique vision. But when an artist chooses a specific medium, a particular theme, or a writer dedicates themselves to a certain genre, they build their own creative fence. Within that defined scope, their true creative freedom emerges. The limits become the very conditions for innovation and mastery. The disciplined focus, the restriction, liberates them to explore depths they never could have reached in an aimless pursuit of everything. What Chesterton ultimately reveals is that having a defined purpose, a clear set of boundaries, liberates us from the profound anxiety of infinite, meaningless choice. When everything is possible, nothing is truly significant. When every path is open, we can become paralyzed, afraid to commit to any single one for fear of missing out on another. This tyranny of choice leaves us perpetually unfulfilled, constantly looking over our shoulder, never fully present in the path we've chosen. The freedom of the fence, then, is the freedom to focus, to commit, to truly become. It's the freedom to build something real rather than to merely contemplate infinite possibilities. It's the freedom to be truly ourselves within the structures and commitments we choose, knowing that these very structures are not cages, but foundations for our flourishing. By embracing limits, by defining our purpose, we don't diminish our lives, we give them shape, meaning, and the true space in which to grow. Chesterton asks us to stop seeing boundaries as obstacles and start seeing them as the very architecture of a meaningful, liberated existence. In What's Wrong with the World, G.K. Chesterton isn't content to merely diagnose the philosophical maladies of his age. He dives headfirst into the very structures of society, particularly the economic ones, and finds them deeply, fundamentally flawed. For him, the root cause of much societal ill-being could be boiled down to a single overarching problem: the sheer, overwhelming concentration of power, both economic and political, into too few hands. He saw the world tilting precariously towards what he would critically label big everything, be it big business, big government, or any monolithic entity that inexorably swallowed up individual agency, local distinctiveness, and the vibrant autonomy of ordinary people. This trend, he argued, created a suffocating uniformity, stifling genuine diversity, and reducing human beings to interchangeable units within an impersonal system. Imagine a landscape where fewer and fewer individuals own the land they live on, the shops they frequent, the factories that produce their goods, or even the essential tools of their trade. This, for Chesterton, was a creeping nightmare, a world where the vast majority were systematically reduced to mere employees, disposable cogs in an ever larger machine, forever beholden to distant, often faceless, employers or a vast, impenetrable state bureaucracy. He wasn't railing against wealth itself, nor against the dignity of honest work, but against an insidious system that increasingly separated people from the ownership and the just fruits of their labor. This relentless concentration of capital and control, he argued, inexorably sapped human dignity, stifled authentic creativity, and eroded the vital, organic bonds of community. It fostered a society of passive consumers and dependent workers, rather than active participants and self-reliant, truly free citizens. The consequence was not just economic imbalance, but a profound spiritual and social impoverishment. So, what was Chesterton's radical, yet refreshingly simple and profoundly human scale solution to this creeping collectivism, whether manifested in corporate giantism or governmental overreach? He envisioned, quite simply, a society of owners, not merely employees. This economic philosophy, which later came to be known as distributism, championed the widest possible distribution of productive property. It wasn't about making everyone equally rich or imposing a dreary sameness, but about ensuring that as many individuals and families as possible owned a substantial piece of the economic pie, their own small plot of land, their own workshop, their own independent business, their own essential tools, their own comfortable home. It was a vision built quite literally on a human scale, where economic power was decentralized, allowing individuals to have a tangible, meaningful stake in their livelihoods and a direct, accountable role within their immediate communities. This decentralized approach fostered resilience and genuine local control. Think of it, not a world dominated by a handful of multinational corporations dictating global supply chains, nor by massive state-run enterprises centralizing all production, but one teeming with independent artisans creating unique goods, thriving family farms sustaining local populations, bustling local shops providing personalized service, and small, democratic company operatives empowering their members. This might, at first glance, sound like a quaint, old-fashioned dream, perhaps even a nostalgic fantasy. Yet stop and consider some of the most vibrant, compelling trends we see emerging today. The shop local movement, for instance, isn't just about economic altruism. It's a powerful, growing recognition of the intrinsic value that local businesses bring, not just financially, but in cultivating unique community identity, fostering civic engagement, and building genuine economic resilience from the ground up. Platforms like Etsy, where individual craftspeople and makers connect directly with customers, entirely bypassing traditional retail giants and intermediaries, are a perfect modern manifestation of Chesterton's deeply ingrained ideal of the independent producer. Farmers' markets, which have exploded in popularity in recent decades, empower small-scale producers and connect conscientious consumers directly to the source of their food, fostering authentic human relationships rather than anonymous, transactional exchanges. And the surging, undeniable desire for self-employment, for building something tangible of one's own, for being one's own boss, for escaping the corporate grind, these are all powerful, contemporary echoes of Chesterton's prescient call for widespread ownership, personal autonomy, and the dignity of independent labor. Chesterton understood, with profound clarity, that there's an inherent, irreplaceable dignity that comes from owning your own work. It's more than just income. It's the deep satisfaction of knowing that the fruits of your labor are truly and justly yours, that your creativity, your skill, and your earnest effort directly benefit you, your family, and your immediate community, rather than simply padding the pockets of distant, abstract shareholders or funding an ever-expanding, often inefficient bureaucracy. When you own your own small business, when you diligently cultivate your own garden, when you craft something beautiful or useful with your own hands and sell it directly to your neighbors, you are not just making a living, you are robustly asserting your independence, contributing meaningfully to the rich, living fabric of your neighborhood, and embodying a form of robust, tangible freedom that can feel increasingly elusive and abstract in our hyper-globalized, heavily centralized world. It's about being a master of your small, yet significant domain, however humble its outward appearance, rather than a subservient cog in a vast, impersonal, and often dehumanizing empire. This, Chesterton argued with conviction, is the true and sustainable path to a healthy, vibrant, and genuinely free society, one that respects the individual while strengthening the collective through widespread responsibility and participation. Welcome back to our journey through G.K. Chesterton's What's Wrong with the World. Chapter 5, Man, Woman, and the Home, demands a thoughtful and nuanced approach for today's audience. Written over a century ago, Chesterton's views on gender roles were products of his time. It's crucial, therefore, to acknowledge this historical context up front, not to dismiss them, but to extract enduring wisdom that resonates in our modern landscape. Our goal isn't to transplant early 20th century structures, but to uncover timeless principles of human flourishing, partnership, and the domestic sphere's profound significance. While some might brace for outdated views, Chesterton offers a robust, even radical, defense of the home. Far from portraying it as a prison, he elevates it as a dynamic, creative, and powerful sphere, the very bedrock of civilization. For Chesterton, the home isn't a retreat, but the central stage where life is truly lived, where character is forged, and culture nurtured. It's humanity's workshop, the ultimate expression of freedom to create and shape one's environment. He saw it as the ultimate experiment, where vital, Long-lasting work is done outside the public eye with infinite repercussions. In an age valuing public acclaim, Chesterton reminds us that the deepest work happens behind closed doors, in the quiet effort of building a home and raising a family. This brings us to his perspective on men and women. His terminology reflects a past era, but his core insight is about complementary strengths and contributions, not superiority. He champions equality and dignity, asserting that both men and women are equally valuable, intelligent, and essential. He diverged by celebrating unique strengths and distinct, yet equally vital, contributions each brings to marriage and home building. He didn't prescribe identical roles, but recognized distinct aptitudes that, in mutual respect, create a richer, more resilient whole. In a modern context, this translates to a celebration of partnership. It's about two individuals, each bringing their full selves, unique talents, and different perspectives to the shared project of building a life together. It acknowledges that partners may excel in different areas, fostering a dynamic where both contribute their best, supporting and strengthening each other. It's a vision where roles are fluid, adaptable to individual needs and gifts, not rigid societal dictates, yet always appreciating the home's essential work. Chesterton's fervent defense of the domestic sphere is a powerful antidote to a world that often only values what can be measured, amplified publicly, or quantified by economic output. He pushes back against the notion that work done within the home nurturing children, creating a welcoming environment, managing daily life, cultivating family bonds is less important, less stimulating, or less deserving of respect than market work. He argues that skills to run a household, educate children, and foster joy and stability are among the most complex and demanding. They require creativity, diplomacy, economic savvy, pedagogical insight, and boundless patience, qualities society values in its leaders. By elevating the home, Chesterton re-dignifies countless acts of quiet heroism that shape individuals and society. He reminds us true wealth isn't just financial, true impact isn't always visible on a CV. It's often found in the unseen labor of love, the profound investment in human lives and relationships, forming the very fabric of our communities. So, reflecting on Chapter 5, let us not get bogged down in historical specifics, but embrace Chesterton's profound call to re-evaluate what truly matters. It's a call to respect and celebrate diverse strengths in partnerships, recognize the home's supreme importance as a vital center of life, and deeply value all meaningful work, especially that which builds up the human spirit, whether or not it receives public applause or quantifiable reward. His message, stripped of dated packaging, is a timeless affirmation of human dignity and the domestic hearth's foundational power. And so, we arrive at Chapter 6, where Chesterton offers us not a grand, sweeping manifesto for global change, but something far more profound and, ironically, far more revolutionary: the romance of the ordinary. Having journeyed through his incisive critiques of modern man's various follies, his misplaced enthusiasms, his self-defeating philosophies, his often unconscious despair, Chesterton now presents his ultimate remedy, a way back to sanity and joy that begins not with altering the world, but with altering our perception of it. The modern age, as Chesterton observed and as we still experience, is relentlessly driven by the pursuit of novelty. We crave the exotic, the untried, the distant. Our feeds are filled with images of far-off lands, cutting-edge technologies, and experiences designed to be once in a lifetime. We are taught that to be truly alive, one must constantly be seeking the next big thing, the fresh sensation, the escape from the mundane. But Chesterton turns this impulse on its head, revealing it as a profound misunderstanding of joy. He champions, instead, the romance of repetition. Consider the sun rising each morning. For many, it's merely a given, an unthinking act of nature. But for Chesterton, it is a daily miracle, a fresh act of creation, a testament to an eternal joy that delights in repeating itself. He famously mused that perhaps God, in his infinite delight, says to the sun each morning, "Do it again." The child's joy in hearing the same story, seeing the same pantomime, or playing the same game multiple times, is, for Chesterton, far more spiritually aligned than the adult's jaded demand for constant newness. The problem isn't that life is repetitive, it's that we've lost the capacity to find wonder in that repetition. We are bored, not because there is nothing new under the sun, but because we fail to see the eternal newness of the sun. This brings us to one of Chesterton's most beautiful and liberating ideas, the true purpose of a journey. We travel to distant lands, perhaps to broaden our horizons, to experience other cultures, to see new sights. And while these experiences can be enriching, Chesterton suggests that the ultimate, often unconscious, goal of every journey is not just to see the world, but to return home and see our own home with new eyes. To step off the train, walk down our familiar street, and suddenly perceive the beauty in the peeling paint of the fence, the quirky charm of a neighbor's garden, the unique pattern of bricks on our own house, things we had long taken for granted. He tells us that the great difficulty of man is to see the things which are manifest. The journey, then, is a roundabout way of rediscovering the treasure buried right beneath our own feet. This rediscovery of home, of the near and the familiar, naturally leads to the practice of gratitude. Chesterton isn't advocating for a superficial count your blessings approach, but a deep, almost mystical appreciation for the foundational things that truly sustain us. He urges us to pause and truly savor the simple, yet profound, blessings that form the bedrock of our lives, the love and companionship of family, the warmth and sustenance of a shared meal, the intricate web of connections that make up a neighborhood, the beauty of our local park, the comfort of our own bed. These are not trivialities to be overlooked in the quest for something more. They are the very substance of a well-lived life, the primary colors from which all other joys are painted. When we lament what's wrong with the world, we often envision grand, systemic problems requiring equally grand, systemic solutions. We look to politics, economics, or global movements. But Chesterton, with his characteristic wisdom, brings us back to basics. The core problem, he argues, is often a failure of imagination, a failure of appreciation, a failure to love what is already given. A healthy world, he concludes, is not a world of perfected systems or constant novelty, but simply a collection of people who have learned to cherish their ordinary lives. It is a world where individuals find joy, meaning, and even adventure in the small, repeated miracles right in front of them, the sun rising, the bread breaking, the familiar face across the table. It is a world where the ultimate rebellion against discontent is to fall in love with existence itself, starting with the very ground we stand on, the very air we breathe, and the very people we share it with. In The Romance of the Ordinary, Chesterton offers us not just a solution to the world's problems, but a pathway to profound and enduring happiness. You've journeyed with us through the delightful paradoxes and profound insights of G.K. Chesterton's What's Wrong with the World. We've explored his arguments against the modern tendency to blame external systems without first looking inward, his fervent defense of the home as the heart of society, and his unique ability to unearth the miraculous in the mundane. But Chesterton wasn't merely an observer, he was an evangelist for a particular way of seeing and living. His ideas aren't meant to remain confined to the pages of a book, but to spill over into the practicalities of our everyday existence. So, how do we translate these grand, sweeping ideas into concrete, actionable steps? How do we move from intellectual appreciation to a lived reality that embodies Chesterton's wisdom? That's precisely what our Your 7-Day Action Plan to See the World Anew is designed to do. This isn't just an exercise in self-improvement. It's a week-long challenge to rediscover the joy, responsibility, and wonder that Chesterton believed were our birthright. It's about shifting your perspective, one intentional act at a time, days 1 and 2 the mirror. Chesterton had a knack for turning our criticisms outward, back toward ourselves. He challenged the common impulse to point fingers at society's ills without first examining our own complicity or our own capacity for change. Before we fix the world, he suggested, we must first fix the little world within us and around us. For these first 2 days, your challenge focuses on introspection and understanding. Action 1, identify just one small, personal habit you can genuinely improve. This isn't about grand self-flagellation, but a simple, manageable step towards personal order. Perhaps it's leaving your workspace tidier, taking a 5-minute break to breathe, or simply being more patient in traffic. The goal is internal self-governance before external critique. Action 2, before you criticize a rule, a tradition, or a policy at your work, in your community, or even within your own family, ask yourself, why does this rule exist? What historical purpose might it have served? What problem was it originally designed to solve? This exercise in imaginative empathy helps you understand the underlying wisdom, or at least the historical context, before you rush to judgment. It's about honoring the past before trying to invent the future. Days 3 and 4, the home. For Chesterton, the home wasn't just a building, it was a kingdom, a sacred space, the very engine of civilization. It was where true freedom and creativity could flourish, distinct from the conformity of the public sphere. He championed its uniqueness, its comfort, and its capacity to be a wellspring of joy and individuality. He also understood the vital importance of local economies, believing that the health of a community was intrinsically linked to its independent, family-run enterprises. For the middle of your week, let's bring Chesterton's domestic vision to life. Action 1, do one unexpected, small act to make your home a more joyful, welcoming place for yourself and those who share it. This could be anything from baking fresh bread, planting a small herb garden, rearranging a bookshelf to spark new interest, or simply lighting a candle for dinner. It's about investing love and delight into your immediate environment, making it a truly unique and intentional space. Action 2, deliberately choose to support a local, family-owned business instead of a large chain store. Whether it's your local baker, a corner bookstore, an independent coffee shop, or a small hardware store, spend your money where it directly nurtures your community and helps families thrive. This is a practical embrace of Chesterton's localist principles, strengthening the fabric of your neighborhood one purchase at a time. Days 5 and 6. The ordinary. One of Chesterton's greatest gifts was his ability to make us see the extraordinary in the ordinary. He reminded us that wonder isn't found by constantly seeking new thrills, but by truly seeing the familiar anew. The sun rising, a tree in bloom, a child's laughter, these are not mundane, but profound miracles, often overlooked in our frantic modern pace. As your week draws to a close, cultivate this Chestertonian vision. Action 1. Go for a walk, perhaps through your neighborhood, a park, or even just around your block, but leave your phone behind. With your senses fully engaged, make it your mission to find and truly notice 3 beautiful things you typically overlook or rush past. Perhaps it's the intricate pattern of a leaf, the unique architecture of an old building, or the way sunlight filters through the branches of a tree. Reclaim your attention for the present moment. Action 2. Take a moment to write down just one ordinary thing in your life for which you are profoundly grateful. Not a grand achievement or a spectacular event, but something truly everyday. It could be the comfort of your bed, the taste of your morning coffee, the warmth of a simple conversation, or the reliable functioning of your body. Let this practice reawaken your sense of profound appreciation for the constants in your life. Day 7. Reflect and share. As your Chestertonian week culminates, it's time to consolidate your experiences and share your journey. Chesterton believed in the power of ideas to transform, but also in the importance of communal discourse and honest reflection. Action 1. Take some quiet time today to look back at your week. What actions did you take? What did you notice? What surprised you? Did any of these small shifts in habit or perspective alter your perception of yourself, your home, or your community? What did you learn about Chesterton's wisdom through your own direct experience? Action 2. We invite you to share one insight, one discovery, or one profound moment from your week-long challenge in the comments section below. Your unique experience can inspire others and contribute to a richer collective understanding of Chesterton's enduring message. This isn't just about reading Chesterton, it's about living Chesterton. It's about bringing his particular brand of joy, reason, and robust common sense into the very fabric of your daily life. We hope this action plan helps you not just understand what's wrong with the world, but empowers you to begin putting things right, starting with yourself, your home, and your appreciation for the wonder all around you. Thank you for joining us on this journey. As we draw to a close, let's distill the potent wisdom of Chesterton's What's Wrong with the World into 3 actionable, memorable insights, a 3-point summary for clearer thinking, designed to equip you with a fresh lens through which to view yourself and the world around you. These aren't just academic points, they're philosophical anchors for navigating the complexities of modern life, offering clarity and courage. Firstly, and perhaps most provocatively, the problem is I am. Chesterton cuts directly to the core, arguing that our deepest societal ailments aren't primarily located in abstract systems or distant institutions, but within ourselves. We have a pervasive tendency to diagnose the world's ills, its politics, its economics, its culture as external flaws, something out there that needs fixing. Yet Chesterton insists that true reform, lasting change, must begin with a profound act of personal introspection. When we ask, what's wrong with the world? The most honest and uncomfortable answer we can offer is often, I am. This isn't an invitation to despair, but a call to empowered responsibility. It's a recognition that the chaotic world we perceive is, to a significant degree, a reflection of our own inner disorder, our own compromises, our own failures to uphold the ideals we claim to cherish. Before we attempt to rearrange the universe, Chesterton challenges us to look in the mirror, to reclaim personal agency and acknowledge that our individual moral choices, our commitments, and our character are the foundational elements upon which any truly good society must be built. This is the radical humility and self-awareness required to move beyond endless critique to genuine, impactful change. It's about understanding that the revolution begins not with marching on the Capitol, but with mastering oneself. Secondly, define your destination. In an era obsessed with progress and evolution, Chesterton throws down a crucial gauntlet. He posits that movement for movement's sake is not progress, it's merely motion, potentially leading us further astray. True progress is utterly meaningless and indeed impossible without a clear, defined, and noble vision of the good life or the good society you're striving for. Think of it like setting sail. You can increase your speed, invent more powerful engines, streamline your hull. But if you haven't decided where you're going, all that technological advancement is just getting you lost faster. Modern society, Chesterton observed, often celebrates change as an inherent good, dismantling old structures without any coherent idea of what should replace them or even why they existed in the first place. He asks us to halt the headlong rush, to pause and consider our ultimate ideals. What does better actually look like? What foundational human values are we aiming to protect and cultivate? Without a philosophical compass, without a clear ideal of human flourishing that transcends mere convenience or material gain, our efforts at improvement are rudderless. They risk becoming destructive, pulling down the good with the bad simply for the sake of novelty. Chesterton implores us to clarify our fundamental purpose, to articulate the destination, the ideal human condition, the just society that gives direction and meaning to all our actions. Only then can we truly know if we are progressing or simply drifting. And thirdly, a beautiful and enduring insight: love what's local. Chesterton understood that the grand, abstract ideals of society are ultimately built, lived, and cherished in the small, concrete realities of everyday life. The building blocks of a truly great, resilient, and humane society aren't found in distant empires, global markets, or sweeping ideologies, but in the intimate, ordinary, and often overlooked aspects of our immediate surroundings. He champions the local, the familiar, the personal: your home, your family, your garden, your local pub, your street, your community, your traditions. These are the tangible anchors of human existence, the places and people where true belonging and meaning are forged. Chesterton argued against the modern impulse to constantly seek novelty, to undervalue the familiar, or to believe that everything worth having must be exotic or far-flung. Instead, he invites us to rediscover the romance of the ordinary, to cherish the specific, peculiar beauty of our own patch of the world. It is in defending these small, ordinary, and often imperfect things, our property, our local institutions, our relationships, that we genuinely foster a robust and vibrant culture. This isn't about provincialism. It's about recognizing that love is made concrete, not abstract. It's about understanding that deep roots in a specific place cultivate a profound sense of stewardship, responsibility, and genuine human connection. Cherish the ordinary, cultivate the local, and you cultivate the very foundations of a flourishing human life. So, there you have it, 3 powerful lenses from G.K. Chesterton to sharpen your perception and guide your actions. The problem is start with yourself. Define your destination, know what you're truly aiming for, and love what's local. Ground your ideals in the concrete, cherished realities of your life. Embrace these Chestertonian insights, and you'll find yourself not merely understanding the world's problems, but empowered to become a meaningful part of its solution. We've spent time grappling with Chesterton's incisive critique of what he saw as fundamentally wrong with the world, the misplaced priorities, the forgotten truths, the subtle decay of common sense. His genius lay not just in identifying problems, but in pointing us back to the foundational principles that make life meaningful, beautiful, and profoundly good. He challenges us to look beyond the immediate anxieties and rediscover the enduring things that truly matter. So, after all this exploration, after contemplating the profound wrongness Chesterton described, let's shift our gaze. Let's apply his spirit of keen observation, but this time in a spirit of gratitude and affirmation. What is one thing, just one, that is profoundly, undeniably, and beautifully right with your corner of the world? Is it a small act of kindness you witnessed? A steadfast tradition that brings comfort? A simple, everyday truth you hold dear? Perhaps it's the resilience of nature, the strength of human connection, or a moment of unexpected joy. Whatever it is, share it below in the comments. Let's build a tapestry of what is good and true, right here in our community. Your perspective enriches us all. If this journey through Chesterton's thought has offered you a fresh perspective, illuminated an old idea in a new light, or simply sparked your intellectual curiosity, please take a moment to hit that like button. It truly helps us bring more profound discussions and valuable insights to a wider audience. And if you're keen to continue exploring wisdom for modern times, from classic literature to practical philosophy and timeless ideas that resonate today, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss our future explorations. This video only scratches the surface of the depth and wit packed into what's wrong with the world. If Chesterton's vision has captivated you, I wholeheartedly recommend reading the book itself. It's a challenging, yet ultimately incredibly rewarding experience, full of Chesterton's trademark paradoxes and profound common sense. Or, for an equally powerful, perhaps even more celebrated entry into his philosophical thought, consider picking up his monumental work, Orthodoxy. Both are brilliant starting points for a deeper dive into his enduring legacy. And speaking of deeper dives, if you're interested in exploring how classic thinkers offer practical wisdom for our contemporary lives, or perhaps another deep dive into literary genius, I've linked another video right here on the channel. It offers a fascinating look at the enduring power of ancient wisdom in a modern context. Click through to continue your intellectual journey with us. Thank you for joining me on this thought-provoking exploration. Keep seeking what is right, keep questioning what is wrong, and keep engaging with the ideas that shape our world.